Aloha and welcome to Java. This is for the week. Thank you so much for joining me on this Sunday. It's March 17th, 2024. Also happens to be St. Patrick's Day, so happy St. Paddy's. Hopefully, this week we'll make some green. Think about maybe eating something green or doing something green for the environment. So, thanks so much. We got a ton to go through, so we'll go ahead and start here with our MMRI mean risk indicator is nudging higher. So currently sitting about 276.9 to start off our week. So got a few things we are looking forward to, mainly the Fed. They're having their meeting on Wednesday. We've also got a few other banks that are going to be having their rate decisions this week as well. We are also going to be watching housing numbers. And for those of you that are interested, Reddit is having their initial public offering. So as they become public, we'll be watching that one. So we've got in the calendar, these are just the major events. We're watching crude oil inventories, of course, the FOMC statement, and this is for Wednesday, and that will be coming at 2 o'clock. So really what happens is when Jerome Powell hits the podium at 2:30, we watch the markets move there and see what will happen. So we've got jobless numbers coming in as well as PMI. So should be a very interesting week. We've also got the Bank of Japan that may do some rate hiking. So they're moving a bit in the opposite direction if that goes. And then also watching the ECB Bank of England. So I wanted to bring this up because I think this is very critical. And before I get into other things, this came up again. Uh, and it's about savings. So most experts suggest having enough emergency savings to cover 3 to 6 months of living expenses. However, due to the high inflation that we've had recently, this goal may seem out of reach for many Americans. Well, it says Americans, but this really applies globally. So, all of my friends in Europe or wherever you may be. So, this is just a poll that was done in the United States, as 1 in 4 US adults say they have no emergency savings. They went deeper into this, saying that they couldn't even cover as much as a $400 emergency expense. So I posted in Substack, way to start kind of working toward a goal of stacking, because you really have to be prepared for what's going on. And I know that it may hurt to kind of do this, but really trying to put away even the slightest bit right now could be very important for the future. So going into the banking and the economy, we've got, as we were talking about, Fed and Bank of Japan are making their rate decisions. We've also got Sunak. So over in the UK, the misery index is now the highest it's been since 1997. So it's facing that political headwind, and that could have a very serious effect as far as what he has to deal with over there. So we've got the markets finally capitulating to the Fed on interest rates. So the markets have been pricing in several rate cuts, and obviously that's not going to happen. We've got our meeting this week, and it's very low chance. I would be shocked if they did cut this week. However, would mean the first cuts could start June. So it would be a maximum really of 3 this year if they do. So, with that, in the real economy, we're watching car values are dropping. So, people that have loans on their vehicles now they can't trade in their vehicles any longer to get new ones. And this is causing major issue, much more than it seems, because that is halting an entire sector of the economy. Since they're not trading in their cars, they're not basically creating a volume of used vehicles for the lower end, and it's also creating a rise in inventory for the new vehicles. So it's only going to be a matter of time before we see them slashing prices on not just new vehicles, but also cutting more labor. So we did watch after that rise of Bitcoin. I do want to cover the other side as well. So they did have a pullback to 69,000, and it triggered $700 million in liquidation. A lot of this was in leveraged option trades. So pulling back. I think it's going to come back possibly a little bit more, but it's another entry opportunity if you're so inclined to have cryptocurrency in your savings portfolio. I do think it's going to push higher more towards the end of the year, but that's crystal ball. We'll see. Credit Suisse in the news again because they are basically still showing they've got quite a bit of weakness. They were saved, a year ago, again with the small, medium banks. There's more to go, and it's not just America, but also Europe. So, another real economy story, we've got the Dollar Tree and others. Again, large layoffs. They're just indicative of what's going on. There's multiple layoffs. There is another website that we follow, and there's more slated for the rest of the year. So, not in hiring cycles right now. So, I thought this was interesting. We've got United States manufacturing firms flocking to the metaverse. So what are they using this for? Is basically what we call sandbox, testing out their businesses because it's much less expensive than doing this in the real world. So testing products and then also kind of moving into this space. So this was a World Economic Forum report. And you know what I think about them. However, it's interesting that they're using that space. So we've got a story with NVIDIA. They are going into the artificial intelligence space with RTX. So I haven't looked into this yet, but they're going to create, supposedly with this, direct competition for ChatGPT, OpenAI, and Microsoft. And if you haven't noticed, Microsoft's latest update has integrated their basically their version of artificial intelligence. They're calling it Copilot. So it is now embedded if you're using Microsoft, which obviously I am on this particular computer, but I just want to bring that to your attention. We'll probably cover that more later. We've got FTC is looking into Reddit, their plan to use their content. So this is all user generated, and they're basically going to repackage and sell this to artificial intelligence companies in order to train them. So kind of an interesting story there. So moving over to Europe, talking about Russia with their assets, because the European Union on their seized assets made 4.4 billion in interest. So German Chancellor is talking more about the profits that would be taken from them could be used to arm Kiev or Ukraine against Russia. Medvedev, so this is kind of a funny story. The European Union then made an adoption, they adopted a resolution. They're calling on Moscow to return gold bullion that they sent to the Russian Empire in Romania in 1916. So Medvedev told them to basically stuff it because they're seizing their money and sanctioning it for purposes of direct confrontation against them and then asking for their gold back. So we've got Brussels bringing up the real issue here is that about half of these seized assets are held with Euroclear. And Russia, if this is used, have already said that they would retaliate. And so Brussels is saying they need an emergency mechanism for its plan to fund Kiev because Russia's not going to let them do this willingly. So potential keg of powder there could take a blast. So I wanted to kind of go over this again because it's slipped into the background like many of these stories do, saying there's no end in sight to the Red Sea shipping diversions. Well, at first they were saying that it was temporary, would only last a short period of time. Now, of course, no end in sight, just like the inflation and everything else that's going on. And then also, they're warning to cut back on meat because scientists are warning that livestock emissions must halve quickly. So, forget about all of the pollution issues and things that are caused by the war, the bombing, everything else going on, moving the shipping, but stop eating your meat because the cattle are giving off too much emissions. That to me is just such an incredible, forward. And so, of course, I couldn't resist with this one Iceland volcano erupting again. So, yeah, in light of it, being obviously a danger, but it's spewing fountains of lava. But more than this, they've got more around the Ring of Fire, which are now becoming active again. So, very interesting things going on in this world, particularly with the weather. Were more odd tornadoes that went through America a couple of days ago. So, that's going to cause more insurance and inflation issues as well. So, with this, I do want to mention one more time I've got that link for Atlantic Underground, did do an interview with them. I hope you guys liked it, that you have seen it. It is a bit longer, but I'm going to leave that link in there again, just in case any of you would like to see that. So with that, I would like to wish you all a wonderful week. Thank you again for joining me, and until I see you again, stay free.